Hello and welcome to Full Tech Ahead. I'm Amanda Razani and I'm excited today to have Greg Stone. He is the product marketing manager for Luminys. How are you doing today?
Doing great. And yourself?
Doing well. Can you share a little bit about your background and then Luminous? What services do you provide?
Yes. I've been a product manager and product marketing manager for the past 20 plus years in the physical security arena, handling video products from DVR, NVRs, cameras, and software, VMS, and now the cloud VSaaS type software. And at Luminous, we offer all of those products and more. So today I wanted to talk to you more about, how the move and the transition from the analog and the digital solutions to the cloud solutions is impacting businesses and security.
Wonderful. Yes. So then let's talk about video surveillance as a service and what impact has AI, first of all, made in that sector and then moving to the cloud?
Okay. Well, first of all, we hear the buzzword AI every single day, and we know it's a growing field, and we know it's ever changing, and it's going to get better. So if you backed up a little bit and said 10 years ago, where was AI? It wasn't even a term that we used in our daily vernacular. So imagine 10 years from now where AI could be. So today AI is happening mostly up in what we would consider the cloud. So computer servers up in the cloud that we interact with from our cell phones and our browsers is allowing us to connect and manage the AI interaction. But AI needs data in order to work. So the cloud is a perfect place to interact with all the different databases and the data that is out there. I believe I read a statistic recently that like ChatGPT uses about 40 to 50% of the data it collects directly from Wikipedia. So that is interesting because it kind of provides a scary thought that how accurate is Wikipedia? So the source of the information is critical for how accurate the AI will represent the final solution to the end user.
So, what advice do you have on making sure that data is up to date and accurate?
Well, that's kind of a global problem that we're all going to face, but it will iron itself out over time. That's how I believe it. AI technologies will continue to evolve. They will get better. Um, the biggest benefit to the security side of things is you're moving your data from a DVR, NVR local storage up into the cloud where it's more secure. I don't really need an IT department now to install and manage it. I just need a network connection. But the biggest benefit is I can intermingle with different data. So this creates like large language models, the LLMs out there, where I could say, hey, find me the guy in the red shirt with the hoodie driving a blue car around this time at this location, and it'll pop up all the different video that's associated to that. So it's going to become more interactive versus I have to sift through all this video manually for hours to find the results. Kind of like the Star Trek, type generation where you just interact to the computer and say, tell me the answer. And we're getting closer to that. Not exactly, but getting closer.
So, let's talk about that. Where will video surveillance as a service be most used, be most beneficial?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that video surveillance is used everywhere. Um, Primarily in the commercial, a lot in the retail. It's been used for, to prevent or track shoplifting, inventory shrinkage. It's also used in public spaces like subways and trains and airports and large installations. It's used in critical infrastructure, whether it's power plants or oil refineries, things like that. So you really want to understand what is the security need first. How important is it to know something before something happens? Is it important to know that there's 100 people at a fence gathering at a critical infrastructure site, or if there's a lone person who snuck across a fence who's not supposed to be there? Can we get early detection? If you go back 20, 30 years ago, you would just look at the video surveillance after the fact. Today, we're looking at the video surveillance as, hey, this is predictive. Something's happening. This needs attention. So imagine what it could be in another 5 or 10 years from now.
Wow. Okay. So then the first thought that comes to my mind, there might be some concern about privacy and how public our lives are going to be in the future. And I can see a lot of people maybe having concerns there. Can you share your insights to that?
Well, anyone who has a social media account's already put their life out there in the world anyway. So if you're really concerned about privacy, I think you're more concerned about how the data will be used against you, used for you, or can it manipulate data or create fake videos, fake pictures, kind of a fake narrative, if you will. So the idea of what's fake and what's real will be definitely an issue. And again, it'll get figured out over time. There are consortiums that are looking at how to validate is that an original picture and keep that metadata with the image all the time. So you know the history of that image. In the video surveillance arena, metadata is now becoming the most important part of the video surveillance activity. So metadata is data about the video. So it'll keep records of there were certain motion events, there were certain things identified, there were people, there were vehicles, different colors that were recognized, different objects. And that data is kind of like keywords, if you will, is tracked in a database with the video. Again, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have that ability. And that gives us the ability now to do a better search or even predictive analysis, even looking at people's behavior to determine whether something is going to happen or not. So the data privacy issue will always be there. But again, since we're putting our lives out there in social media anyway, what is your real concern? That you're walking down a street and that a camera recognizes your face? Maybe that's a concern we should have. But there are also a lot of benefits to that as well, that we can now track things and find suspicious activity or even abnormal behavior that might be suspicious before some act is done.
Yeah, actually, I can see a lot of benefits for tracking and say even things, unfortunate circumstances like kidnappings, being able to track through video surveillance and finding them quickly.
Absolutely. So child abduction or suspects in a crime, being able to track and find them quickly and easily. Other parts of the world, in Asia, smart cities are much more popular. They're just kind of emerging in the United States. Europe has had many smart cities for years, where it wasn't just managing the smart city of video for looking for the bad guy. It was also looking at the operations. That all of a sudden, an area that was very depressed, it was a lot of drugs, a lot of trash, a lot of graffiti. By putting cameras in and then taking action, so that the graffiti is now stopped. The trash is now being picked up because we see trash. So now we notify the sanitation department to pick up the trash. And all of a sudden, kind of a seedy area became more touristy. Businesses moved in, and all of a sudden, it became a rejuvenation for that area because there was video surveillance and because the proper actions were taken from them. So that's benefits of a smart city type of a solution.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot more about smart city solutions, and I imagine that could also help with figuring out infrastructure, traffic situations, and how to improve the roads too.
Absolutely, from traffic, toll roads, tracking license plates, we're getting a much more familiar, and it's more commonplace to recognize that, hey, my license plate's being tracked. Maybe there's speed trap zones. Again, more popular in Asia than in the United States, but those technologies exist today to keep us safer, and also, again, being able to track. But in a free society, we're not used to being tracked, and a lot of people will oppose being tracked, and a lot of people will see the benefits to it. So again, there'll be a lot of discussion around it. Laws will need to probably change over time, but overall, there's differences in the commercial sector versus the public sector. So public government, in schools, in public places, the laws are slightly different than in a commercial. If you own a business and you want to know what's going on in your business, you want to know how many people come through the door, where do people go within the store. Maybe I want to do heat map so I can visualize where people are migrating through in my store so I can put my retail displays more accurate and drive business. I want to associate the number of people coming through the door with the number of sales I have and the seasonality of my business. Maybe I want to point a camera out and count the number of cars that are going by in the parking lot and associate that to my business. So there's things that you can do that are not just video surveillance to find the bad guy, but it's also how do I improve my business operations? So again, public sector versus private enterprise or the commercial sector.
And to that note, where would someone find those laws and regulations to make sure they're adhering to them?
Well, there are, like for instance, facial recognition. There's no federal laws really on facial recognition. Most of that is handled at the state level. So there are about a dozen states or so that have enacted laws about facial recognition, the use of it. And again, it's mostly in the kind of the public sector. There are some impacts to the private sector, which is you have to have certain permission from the users. So if you're a business tracking an employee and you want to use facial recognition, you have to notify your employee. Maybe you have to say they have to sign a waiver, or at least you want to notify them that facial recognition is being used. In other cases, you can't store the facial data in a database. So that becomes problematic for some businesses that want to use facial recognition. For instance, let's say you're a hotel and your favorite guest, your VIP guest, walks up to the desk. Your facial recognition could alert the concierge or the hotel staff, hey, this is my VIP. I want to treat them. Here's the information about them and how you would greet them and what their favorites are and what the expectation is. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to do that? And you could do that with facial recognition. They would not even have to introduce themselves. So there are some benefits to it. Now, Luminys, we have technologies like LumiSearch that we don't use facial recognition, but we can find the type of data that people are mostly using in video surveillance. I'm looking for the guy with the red shirt who was around this time frame in this location. And once I get one image, I can now search across all the cameras connected to that system and find where was that individual going, what did they do, and track all their movements. And I don't have to have any facial recognition in order to do that. So the technology now has progressed to a point where you're not skirting the law, you're just not using facial recognition technology, so therefore the law does not apply. Okay. So it's a different approach to using the technology to solve a similar problem.
There's a lot of great use cases you shared today. As quick as technology is advancing, what do you see for the future of video surveillance?
I see where, again, if you go back 20, 30 years ago, all video surveillance was very analog oriented. You could only access the video on that site. It was very hard to remotely access it. Today, with the advent of cell phones, internet, we can access video anywhere, anytime, any place. So using any device, and with HTML5 being the core in the thin client browser, gives us that ability to access the video anywhere. Now with the cloud and VSAS technologies, analytics, which are happening, whether they're in the camera or in NVR or in the cloud, the analytics is going to be a driving force over the next decade for video surveillance. It's going to add a lot more features, a lot more predictive technologies to predict, hey, there is an activity that needs some attention before the act happens, before the event actually happens. I think that's the biggest change. Is video surveillance used to be after the fact, hey, this is what happened, go find the video, and we need this to prosecute or find something. Now we can use it to say, hey, we're going to prevent something from happening. And I think that's a big, big change in the video surveillance industry right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with our audience today.
No problem. Great to talk with you.
All right. And thank you, the audience. Stay tuned. There are more podcasts coming up.